Are you facing a rebrand for your small business? Maybe you're expanding your business to include a different set of services or a new product line. Maybe you're niching down. Maybe you've developed a partnership with another business or purchased another business and you have to figure out how to make those two businesses now work together nicely. Whatever the reason is for your rebrand, you want to make sure it goes off without a hitch and it's thought through and executed as perfectly as possible. So we want to make sure that we avoid some of these big common mistakes that small business owners make when they're going through a rebrand. So in no particular order, let's talk about the 4 biggies. So the first one we'll talk about is not looking at the data before you're deciding something. So if you have an existing business, hopefully you have been tracking things like your website information using Google Analytics, or if you use different social profiles, maybe you have ad stats, whatever kind of online marketing tools or platforms you have, make sure you're looking at that data and what it's actually telling you. As an example, I had a client who wanted to remove a couple services from his business website as he was approaching this rebrand he was doing. And I looked at the data and I said, hey, these are like the 3rd and 4th most visited pages on your website. And because people weren't necessarily describing why they wanted to sign up or what they wanted to sign up for as those couple service pages, he wasn't realizing that those pages were actually what were bringing people in from search and what people were Googling to get them on his site to then, navigate around and read more about him and see what his total service line entailed and then decide to sign up with him. So the indicators as to what is or isn't good or what isn't working may not be as obvious as like, oh, someone called me on the phone or someone filled out a contact form and they did say this or they didn't say that they found me on a certain place or visited a certain website. You never know unless you look at the data through like Google Analytics, your Facebook Insights, whatever it is that you use. You want to make sure that you don't end up hurting yourself while you're trying to niche down or rebrand instead of helping yourself. So you have to make sure before you make big changes like that they are changes that support your business and your client base. So the next big mistake that I see small businesses make when they're going through rebrands would be they think they need to start from scratch. You don't need a brand new domain name necessarily. You don't need a brand new website necessarily. Depending, obviously, what specifically you're doing for your rebrand, of course, you might have to do something larger scale like that, or maybe combine pages from 2 websites on a new website. But sometimes, and a lot of times, it's as easy as reworking what you have or maybe combining some things that you have. Usually during some kind of rebrand, there's some kind of visual element that is updated. So if you get a new logo, say from a designer, you have to make sure that logo is carried through on all your other marketing, whether it's online marketing or offline marketing. So there obviously will be some changes, but it's not like you have to say, hey, I need a brand new Facebook page and Twitter account and YouTube and a brand new website. And what are we going to do about all those blogs that we wrote? Like a lot of times, a good amount of what you already have can be reused and just reworked. So don't think you have to scrap everything and start brand new. So the third rebranding mistake would be different can be bad. So if your purpose for rebranding is because you're just trying to differentiate yourself in the market, make sure that whatever this new face of your company that you're putting forward through your online marketing and your offline marketing, it's not so vastly different from who you already are, and you don't sort of explain yourself or set you up in a way that makes your customers or potential customers think, well, what kind of business are they now? This doesn't even seem like the business that I knew before. Sometimes it's like you want to be different. So you talk to your web developer and they say, oh, I want this different kind of website and I want to set up my packages differently, and I want a completely different structure just to be different than everybody else. But you know, customers have a certain familiarity with things, so you don't want to go so different that people are wondering who you are, what you do, if you're even trying to still attract people like you as an ideal client. So just know that you know, too different can be really hurtful as you go through and then come out the other side of your rebrand. The fourth mistake that you want to make sure to avoid with your rebranding is losing sight of your customers. So I see this a lot with websites specifically. Maybe someone will want to pick a different kind of layout, or they want to come up with some fancy names for the different pages on their website. You have to understand that people have a certain familiarity and understanding of like where to find different information on your website. They assume there's a contact page. They assume that if they go to the foot of your website, they can find like an address, an email, a phone number. You don't want them to have to think about what those different tabs on your navigation actually mean. So being cute or clever with that usually hurts instead of helps. Like if people see about, they know what that means, and they look for things like about if they want to learn about your company. They know what services means. They know what like shop means. They know what blog means. So you don't want to start coming up with crazy names for things or start reorganizing content in not logical and not obvious ways, because that's just going to turn around and hurt you in the end. So just to recap, those 4 small business rebranding mistakes that are very common and that you want to avoid is not looking at the data before deciding. So make sure to do your research on all those analytics. Assuming you need to start from scratch, because a lot of the time you can reuse a lot of what you already have. Just know that different can be bad, so don't try to, you know, swing for the fences and come up with some crazy idea for what you want to do. And lastly, losing sight of your customers, because ultimately you still need to appeal to them. You are the center of your business, so maybe sometimes changes you want to make sense for you, but they're not necessarily the changes that are made in the best interest of your customers. If you have any questions, please leave those in the comments below. I will also link up a related blog post, and you all have a good rest of your day. Thanks.